So the first story I wanted to talk about was an interesting one. It is internet assassinations. Now, these things have actually been around for a long time. They've been predicted for a very long time. Back in the 90s, there were futurists and science fiction authors and cyberpunks and stuff like that saying that there was going to be a future of internet assassinations. And what it is that, well, the way that it formed was with the evolution of the convergence of the Bitcoin and Tor. So the big one right now is Assassination market, where you donate as many Bitcoins or half a Bitcoin or whatever to a pot. And this one specifically targets politicians. Now, I put in half a Bitcoin, you put in a Bitcoin, you put in a Bitcoin. Once it gets up to an amount that a hitman wants to take that job, he writes down the day and the date and the target, and he puts a Bitcoin in as well. And it's an encrypted file. And then if the target dies on that day, the person who sent that file to the assassination market gets the bounty. They're talking about, the article seemed a little dated, but they were talking about Barack Obama and Ben Bernanke. He's the head of the Federal Reserve, not a very popular person, especially not in the Bitcoin community, or really anywhere. But, so that was the idea. Now, here's the thing. Definitely you can use the internet to facilitate assassinations. That's completely believable. People use Craigslist to find hitmen, for crying out loud. The thing is that when you're a hitman, that is your business. And when you take a big target like that, you pretty much know that you are going to be out of business for the rest of your life. You kill a high-profile target, you will be on the run for the rest of your life. The higher the profile target, the quicker they are going to find you, or the more resources, at least, they're going to put into looking for you. Assassination market, their rule is we only allow targets that have committed bodily harm against other humans. And they have an overall goal. Their goal is to strike fear into the heart of politicians, not the people, into politicians, so people stop wanting to be politicians, and it'll create this anarchist utopia. I'm not a huge fan of anarchism. I've lived in bad neighborhoods. Most people I know who are anarchists are either college-educated people or criminals. I've met maybe one or two who are like a kind of a socialist anarchist, which is kind of weird, to like just provide us with money and then leave us alone in every other aspect of our lives. But for the most part, it's a criminal outlier, and then it's college-educated people. I'm not talking down about both of those people. I'm just saying that that's the problem. I have a friend who's actually very, like, down on society in general, and my argument has always been, if society collapsed, if the government completely collapsed and we moved to anarchy, you may live in your shack in the wilderness on a mesa in New Mexico, but the gangs from LA will eventually spill out. And they are not trying to live in this utopic world. Is that a word, utopic? Maybe I just made it up. Maybe it's real. But you know what I mean? Like, you can have that fall of the government. And you know, preppers are kind of like in between. They want to live on their ranch and raise their cows, but they're completely prepared to blow people's brains out as well. But the idea of if the government fell, then it would be a utopia. I would, if the government fell, 4 days, and I'm a scavenger, I'm a raider. Let's just, you know, call it what it is. Like, after a couple days, when I'm like, there's no cops around, dude. I mean, like, I'm not Negan or anything, but I'm also, I mean, like, yeah, that's not good. You know, there needs to be some checks and balances for certain people. But yeah, it's... So anyways, but that aside, the utopian idea aside, again, taking on a big target like that is hard. You can have internet assassinations against smaller people, like really anyone outside of politics or the law enforcement, judges, stuff like that. You know, it wouldn't be worth it. But if you wanted to like take care of your postmen and stuff like that, you could probably find somebody on Tor. You know, the thing a lot of people don't know about Tor, it was invented by the government. They've kind of lost control of the beast to a certain point, but they can still track you coming in and out of the dark web. They can't really see what you do in the meantime, but if they notice someone keeps going in and out, and it's a crapshoot. It's not like they'll always know that you're going in and out, but they may be putting a sting on somebody else, and then they see you, Johnny No Luck, go into the dark web and come out, and now you're on their radar. But they don't really know what you're doing on there. But it's secure in that sense. But again, it's not completely foolproof. They did invent it. It was invented as a covert tool. You could be a CIA operative in Istanbul, and you have the Tor browser in your flash drive. You go to an internet cafe, you plug it in, you access Tor. It's untraceable to anyone standing around you. It's untraceable by most governments. And then you pull it out and you leave, and you've communicated all the information and stuff like that. That's what it was built for. And then it basically became open. I've always been surprised. I've talked about this before. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I edited it out. But I think it's weird that people in 2018 still meet young girls online. And I think it's even more baffling that people hire hitmen online. I saw this news report. This woman was trying to find a hitman. I don't know if that's the right word, but a kidnapped man to kidnap her husband and then sell him into sexual slavery in the Middle East. Terrifying. That would be the hitman. No, bad hitman. Like, why don't you just shoot me at the Olive Garden? Don't put me in a box and send me to the Middle East to be raped forever. That's horrible. Now, luckily, the person who she was talking to, the kidnapped man, was a cop, and she was arrested. But that's all. You can go on YouTube and see tons of videos of people talking to undercover hitmen. Why are people still doing this? I just don't get it. Like, I get at a certain point being so desperate you want the situation to end. But going on the internet to find a hitman, sometimes they'll go. I've read stories where people will go to bars to find hitmen. Like, who do they think hitmen are that they just hang out? Listen, dude, if you're a mafia don, you have one on the payroll, or you know one, and it's just a professional thing, and you go take care of it. Or if you're like a member of a cartel or something like that, or even a street gang would have, a gunman, like someone who just like handles the wet works and stuff like that. But if you're a suburban housewife, SOL, dude, you're not going to be able to find a legit hitman. And I'll say this. Whether or not you find the hitman online or in real life, if I'm the hitman, I'm taking you out too. For one reason. I know how to kill people and to live with it, but Sally Housewife doesn't. And 8 years later, I know she's going to be at her daughter's birthday party and she's going to start regretting that she took part in the taking of another human's life. That's just human nature. So I'm going to take your money and I'm going to take you out too. If anything, these people are lucky. These average citizens, these upstanding people are lucky they're getting arrested because it could turn out a lot worse. But yeah, so I mean, they're out there. It's funny, you may think that, it's one of those things, internet assassinations, it's on the conspiracy iceberg, and it's one I looked at and go, well, yeah, of course. I think the reason why it's on the conspiracy iceberg, because most of them, or this new one, Assassination Market, but, it's an older article, but I think the fact that they're targeting, like, high-ranking people is why it's on there. But again, like, if somebody came to me and was like, Jason, guess what? I'm like, yeah, what? Oh, there's assassins who work on the internet. I'd be like, okay, yeah, what else do you want? I mean, like that's obvious. It's actually the perfect place for assassins to meet people. Legit assassins meeting legit customers, not your local minister who's like, oh, I really hate the deacon, so I'm gonna, if things are that dire with you and you feel like you have to hire an internet hitman, it's just, I mean, guys, if you've come to that point in your life where you're, trolling the internet for a hitman or going to bars looking for a hitman, you got to reevaluate stuff, because trust me, it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well at all. Don't do it. I'm sure you guys knew that already. A lot of time these internet assassination websites get taken down because, again, Tor's not invulnerable to this stuff. Look at Silk Road. Oh, speaking of that, let me say this real quick. There is another podcast called Casefiles. They have a 3-part episode on Silk Road. It's the best nonfiction podcast I have ever heard. Those 3 episodes, at least. I was getting anxiety attacks listening to them. It is the story of the Silk Road. It is the website that allowed people to buy drugs anonymously. And then eventually they tried selling guns. And it's the story of the Dread Pirate Roberts. That is an amazing podcast. I recommend it wholeheartedly. Like I said, my heart was pounding towards the end. Great story. I highly recommend it. I can't say enough about it. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.